Hi there, guys, and welcome back to the Lenko Show. Today, I am bringing him back. It is Tom Blay, and we are going to be talking about what is quite possibly one of our most expert topics when it comes to youth development, youth athlete training, and developing the ultimate athlete. That's what we're going to be looking at today. So we're going to be talking about all things in that area and how you can essentially raise someone from a young person to full-grown adult that has a top level, let's say, athletic career or top level career in sport, whatever it is that person decides they want to do, and ultimately live a long, healthy, fulfilled life, which is the end result that we want for everybody. Okay, so Tom is here. He's ready to go. Let's get right into it. Tom, welcome back onto the show, my man. First person, other than me and Chris, obviously, to make 2 appearances.
Thanks for having me back, mate.
That's good, because I feel like we've got some stuff worthwhile talking about anyway, certainly today.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. Looking forward to it.
So, getting into it, we'll just go straight away. Like we're looking at essentially discussing building or developing, raising the ultimate athlete, or like how we create the most opportunity for a professional career in sport, shall we say?
Yeah.
So where do we start? So you're a dad yourself, aren't you? So what are you doing with your little ones? What are you forcing upon them?
I think that that's the fine line of guiding and gently pushing, because I feel like I've seen many parents and many kids being forced into a sport that they might like at the time, but then they end up holding some disdain for, like they don't like it because they're just like, oh, I've got to go here 3 times a week. And they end up being fed up with it, even no matter how much they excel at it or no matter how much natural talent they have, they just end up binning it off because they can't be bothered anymore. So it's finding like the fine line, isn't it, between pushing, keeping them engaged with a sport, and improving them as well, like them getting something out of it.
Because obviously, how old are both your kids? Like
10 and 2.
10 and 2. So obviously the 2-year-old, what's she working on at the minute?
Well, she was a quick learner. She was very good at crawling. She was walking really early, which I was a bit worried about because I wanted to develop her upper body a little bit longer. But she can throw now. She's been throwing for a while. We taught her how to throw from watching Dragon Ball Z, doing Kamehameha waves, throwing energy bombs. So that's how she throws stuff. She can stand on one leg, on both legs. She's pretty good. She's pretty good at climbing. She's quite a good runner. You know, have you ever met anyone who can't run? Like kids that can't run, they don't know how to run. They like skip. She's been sprinting around for a while. We play a game called Round and Round, where basically I chase around the table, but it's the kitchen table. But yeah, she's doing pretty well. The 10-year-old, my lad Alexander, he does CrossFit.
What a name!
Yeah, special name, named after Alexander the Great. It was the only way he could stop his mum from calling him something mental. But he does CrossFit, so he plays football, which he enjoys, and he really likes doing CrossFit. He likes the variance, the skill. He likes snatching. He likes rope climbs. He doesn't like doing thrusters, but he does them anyway.
I don't think anyone likes doing thrusters. I hate it. I hate it.
I don't mind a thruster, but yeah, he's doing really well. He's just enjoying seeing improvements in his own body, and I think that's something that everybody needs to see for encouragement.
So I think if we start with the 2-year-old, for any parents out there that have got a 2-year-old or are likely to have a 2-year-old at some stage,
hopefully they get that far.
Well, yeah. What emphasis, as in if they choose to have children, what emphasis are you putting on sort of like just playing, running around, like chasing, playing little games? Like, you know, I mean, you say she's learned to throw, she learned to catch yet? Have you been throwing stuff at her? Is that how it works? Yeah.
Nothing too heavy. But yeah, we just play, throw stuff back, see if she can catch it. It's definitely, you know, something you take for granted as you get older, but learning how to catch and doing these really simple skills, like the earlier you can learn them, the better. It's a confidence builder, isn't it? But play should be the focus in these early years, I think, not practice, because the playing is fun. It's engaging, it's bonding. Whereas sometimes at the really early stages, I feel practice can be a bit too regimented.
It's like, right, let's set up a training session for you now. No,
15-minute clock, here we go.
Yeah. So, but it's little things in it, like we talk about. It's essentially learning how to interact with the world and how to exert force on objects. Like, how does the ground and your foot working, kind of like balancing, and you know, how do you posture yourself in that? Because obviously, you know, you're not born one day and then you're up and running around the next day. Like, it's a fairly slow process. Like, you learn the coordination and the control to be able to crawl and kind of drag yourself around on the floor, even like half push yourself up. And obviously, like you said, the best way to do that with kids isn't by structuring a proper training session, it's just playing around, isn't it?
Yeah, I remember in the first lockdown, we were outside in the back garden, it was baking hot, and I was doing I think I was doing thrusters and burpees, and I'd finished doing a load of burpees on this yoga mat, so I didn't chafe my nipples on the ground. And little Thea waddles over, like, how old would she have been there? Last year.
Just over
like 1 a year old. She's like 1 and a little bit. Waddles over and starts doing burpees. And like she was about 15 months old, yeah, and she just starts doing burpees. I don't think I've deleted my social media, so I haven't got it on there anymore. I think Laura might have it, but she just starts banging out burpees, and then she eyes up the dumbbell that I left on the floor as well. I think just seeing it to start, like as a child, is really, really important to know that that's a thing to do.
Do you think that, obviously, looking at the range of movement that kids do have, like in terms of, like they can just sit in that squat position for hours. You know, how much do you think we actually just either coach ourselves out of movement or work ourselves into a position where we then can't move in certain ways?
We spend too much time in bad positions, sat down in a shit posture, sat in the car, sat at a desk, crouching over. And it is like your body forgets how to sit in a deep squat. But that's where we're naturally meant to sit, to poo and eat and all those things.
There is actually something called a squat potty, isn't there? Have you seen these where it's like a little footstool that
raises your knees so that your digestive system works as it should do? Yeah. I mean, my legs are that fucking long anyway. When I'm sat on the toilet, my knees are in my neck anyway, so I'm all right.
I mean, unfortunately, I don't really have any issues in that area. So, yeah. But so what we're saying is that, you know, for people at Google will probably be the first people to pick up on this, but, you know, you should ban people from walking around in the office, get them crawling, have them sat on some form of little stool so they're in a deep squat position.
I mean, there's definitely an argument for that, mate. I mean, it's there's the people who can spend a longer time in a pain-free squat usually have a little bit more muscle mass around the legs, usually a little bit stronger, no back pain.
I do wonder if if bear crawling could that be the ultimate exercise or mode of transport?
Human centipede.
Well, maybe not quite that. Maybe not quite to that extent. I mean, could, like, in terms of, you know, arm strength, leg strength, core strength, movement coordination. And I know, like, if you do a bear crawl or you do some form of movement shadowing in that position on all fours, like that, do that for 60 seconds. That burns. And kids are doing that all the time.
we put them in workouts in the gym, bear crawls, and they're devastating because people can't control their own body weight on the hands and the feet, sat in a quadruped position. It's concerning. It's concerning if you can't do that.
Yeah. So I'd say, tip number one for everybody listening today or watching if you're on YouTube. Tip number one, start traveling around. Do it in your house to begin with. Just feel comfortable, but travel around on all fours.
If you can't do it, then it's definitely an issue. You need to get some.
Do you know what as well? It makes going up and down the stairs a lot more interesting.
Yeah. Don't go forwards down the stairs.
So, I was looking at because I had some stuff written down for this preparation, and this is the pathway for turning talented children into elite athletes. And I would also say it's applicable for untalented children, if there is such a thing.
Define talented.
Exactly. So before we get into your kid has no hope, I think this is applicable for everybody. So phase number one, step number one, active start. So that's where your 2-year-old's at, isn't it? In terms of just playing, being chased around by you. I mean, that'd get me running. Throwing stuff, catching stuff, just play around, enjoy it, have a bit of fun. And as parents, especially if you're interacting with your kid, I mean, like you mentioned already, bonding. What a great way to go. Then you learn the fundamentals. That's step number 2, with emphasis on the fun. So agility, balance, coordination, probably again, where she's at as well. Step number 3, would you say that this is where your boy's at about 10 years old, learn to train?
Yeah. And that's mainly it's going to be through his football club, because they practice drills, they pass, they perform corners, they're doing headers, they're practicing penalties. They're skills, aren't they? And then if he comes and plays with me, comes to the gym with me and trains with me, that's more like training. You're doing some box jumps and squats and so on. That's definitely more training and practice at that area. But it just depends at your exposure, doesn't it? Like, what are you lucky enough to be able to be taken to a club or a team? It's it's just what advantages have you got at that point?
Yeah, because I think it's finding the opportunities. Like for some people, it is quite closed off, isn't it? And
yeah,
especially if you haven't got active parents or you haven't got people that are interested in sport in your family.
Mate, you think about how many air quotes talented athletes there've been who couldn't be asked, or whose parents didn't help. I'm not going to say push them, whose parents didn't try with them or like have the opportunity to, whether they couldn't be bothered or they didn't have the finances to do it. It's like, how many Ryan Giggs and how many Johnny Wilkinsons have we missed out on because of that? Like, we'll never know. You could argue that the difference between talent and non-talent is opportunity sometimes in people's lives.
So then step number 4, train to train. So train for the sake of training, train for the sake of getting better. Step number 5, train to compete. So we're getting a little bit more serious now. Step number 6. So I think the way I'd phrase number 5 is probably, if you were in an academy or you were in like a youth development program, or you were looking at starting to progress in a particular sport, you would be training to compete. You're competing for your place to be there. You're competing for the right to be in a team, in a squad, as part of a scholarship program. I think America's pretty much got that nailed down, hasn't it, in terms of their school system and the way that they hand out scholarships. Step number 6, train to win. So that's the career phase, I think. Agree?
Yeah, absolutely. And you can get things get really interesting at that point, I think.
In what way?
Much more emotional, much more stressful. Because sometimes the fun, a bit more of the fun can be taken out of it, and it becomes more demanding, challenging, self-criticizing. in order to improve. And like you said, like sometimes the pecking order can be demotivating as it can bring someone up and make people excel themselves to keep the shirt number or whatever it is.
And how do you reckon you kind of get through that? So you've got, because I think we've had a couple of athletes who've come on here already, like obviously yourself, Sam Ruddock, John Kenyon, like they've all said, being an athlete it's a bit of a selfish life. Like you've got to train a lot, you've got to put a lot of time and energy into it. And again, if you are competing in a season, when the fixture ends, when the game ends, the separation from losing at that point to going home, like it doesn't really end. Like you take it with you because it's your job, it's your livelihood, it's your career. Like, when a paycheck is based on you doing a specific job or getting a specific result, it can be quite hard to kind of manage yourself through that. So what's your, go on.
Sorry, well, you have to, don't you? Because every decision is leading towards a better performance. Every decision you make in your lifestyle, it's probably not something that you think about as a child or when you're 10, but when you're, if you, like you said, like you've got paychecks coming in depending on your performance, then your bedtime, your next bit of food, your hydration, your emotional stresses, your relationships, all those things really matter. And those little 1% all build up into the athlete that you might be or might not be.
So as father of two, at what point are you going to start to, do you educate and how do you do it with your kids?
Well, with Thea, it's just fun. Make her watch anime, and then she'll start shouting mad stuff off Dragon Ball Z. And then to a degree, we've done the same thing with Alexander. It's just been play. It's just been fun. Taught him how to wrestle. I've taught him how to do a rear naked choke. Taught him how to get out of a rear naked choke. Taught him how to do a triangle choke and a guillotine and these other fun things that we did as dad and lad, just play fighting. So it's always fun. Like, oh, Dad, teach me how to climb the rope. How do I do a foot clamp? How do I do a dumbbell thruster? How do I work this bike? How do I jump on a box? And it's always just like expose him to something and then see if he's interested in it and then teach him how to do it or try to teach him how to do it in the way that he gets. And then see what he likes. If he likes it, great. If he doesn't like it, tell him why it might be important to do it. And then if he wants to leave it, you can leave it.
Yeah. Note to anyone listening there, if you're thinking about complaining to child services, go back, listen to it again. Remember, Tom's definitely said the word teach, not punish or just like it was definitely the word teach. I'm going to show you how to do it. I'm not going to just do it.
I didn't. I may have gently done it a few times.
Just re-established a hierarchy within the household.
Yeah.
So obviously all that kind of stuff is, I mean, for me, sounds pretty exciting stuff. I mean, obviously not being choked out by you, but learning those skills where you can do that kind of thing, like good fun, sounds exciting. How do you go about educating or encouraging the more boring but equally essential habits around sort of good quality nutrition, good quality sleeping patterns?
Conversations, really. So, Alexander has a bedtime routine. Thea's is a bit all over the place because she does what she wants. But Alexander has a bedtime routine. It's, family time, teeth brushed, reading. He reads every night and then bed. All at the same time, wakes up at the same time. So it's pretty dialed in. And we've had conversations about how you train. If you train really hard, you have to sleep because that's what you do while you're growing. So he knows it on that level. Like that's when, and I've said that's when your muscles get big, is when you're asleep. So it's just like a dead simple way of putting it, without going in too much science and him completely switching off and not paying attention. So it's just like, do you want to get stronger? Do you want to learn do you want to climb the rope better tomorrow? Then you have to go to sleep on time.
Yeah, so you basically frame that to him in a way that he understands, where he can appreciate, well, maybe he's got it in the back of his mind that he does want to get more muscular, he does want to get stronger. At the very minimal level, it's like, well, do you want to be able to do what you did today better than you did yesterday?
Yeah.
Who says no? Like, I want to be the same or I want to be worse.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I suppose if he did, you'd be questioning his life goals and motives then, wouldn't you?
Yeah, he wants to improve. He gets frustrated when he doesn't win, when he doesn't succeed, or when he can't do something. So if I give him a pathway to success or what might lead to success, it's usually more positive, and he's usually more willing and engaged.
How important do you think that positivity is when it comes to getting the kids engaged in sport, getting them engaged in health, fitness, exercise?
Success is massive. I think that with everybody, to encourage and keep them engaged, they need a certain level of wins and successes, and to be able to take the positives from situations, to keep them in, because how many times have you seen someone try something and bin it off because they lose every time? I'm not saying I've never let him beat me at anything, ever. I've never let him. He's beat me at Connect 4 a few times.
What is going on?
Mate, he's clever, man. He's clever. But I never let him.
Yeah.
But when he does lose, or if he does lose, we point out the positives. Conor McGregor, you win or you learn, and sometimes it's about the coaching and the parenting is about pointing out what went well, regardless of the result.
Do you ever, like, let's say when you do beat him at Connect 4, if you beat him at Connect 4, do you ever, like, if he gets frustrated or angry that he's lost kind of thing, do you ever then go and show him, look, this is how I did it, this is how I've beaten you? Or do you kind of like just go and figure it out?
Well, the first thing you ask is, how is that possible? How have you beaten me? I'm like, well, I put that there. Because it's just all the feedback, isn't it?
Yeah.
Feedback. Here's what happened. Here's how we do better next time.
So it's like that. I mean, he's asking the right question there in the first place, isn't it? Like when he goes, how is that possible?
Yeah,
like,
albeit not very calmly.
You could just go, how is it possible? Like, what did I do? And he goes, oh, yeah, well, I see what you did there. And then kind of starts to join the dots together himself. Like little games like that, I suppose they're a great way. Everyone talks about Roger Federer being a master tactician when it comes to match play, figuring out his opponent, strength and weaknesses, obviously crucial in one-to-one sport, still as important in team sports, whether it's football, rugby, hockey, various other field sports. But that's a really, really good way to actually encourage, go and figure it out, analyze your
like that. Problem solving.
Do you know what, mate? That's what life is, isn't it? Life is problem solving. The more problems you solve, the better problems you get.
Yeah, you just get more problems, but you get better at figuring them out. Like, imagine being a right back and Ryan Giggs running at you, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, like, however long, not 30 years ago, 15, 20 years ago. You know what I mean?
To be fair, mate, he probably was playing at 30 years ago.
Yeah, I'm sure he was playing at 30 years ago, but he's probably...
actually, 91. Yeah, probably was. Maybe you team.
He definitely used to. But anyway, imagine that's a problem, isn't it? That's a problem. That's a real problem. And it's one of those problems where you're like, well, I know the answer, but I'm just not quick enough.
Yeah. Yeah. So then what do you do?
Snap him.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you've got a few different ways in, depending on how you want to answer that, as to a few different ways as to which you could go to deal with it. Either you go, right, well, I'm not quick enough. I'm going to try and get quicker. I'm going to go through a block of speed training, practice my agility, balance, coordination, improve power output. Or you can go, right, I'm just going to snap him. I'm just going to foul him. I'm going to take him out that way. I'm going to beat him psychologically and use my physicality. Or you can go, right, well, I'm going to improve my tactical now. So I'm going to get better at judging speed and distance. So I'm more efficient. So I don't really even have to improve my physical quality. I think that's 3 there off the top of my head. I can think of as a way that you could go and improve in that situation. I mean, I've always kind of used and kind of like the analogy. Don't judge me here, people, but a homeless man has money problems. Bill Gates has money problems. The money problems they have are very, very different based on the problems that they've solved previously. I have money problems, but they're all in different places on that scale, aren't they?
Yeah. Yeah, it's all relative, isn't it?
Yeah. So like, the homeless man, his money problems might be, well, I've got 0 income. I don't know where I'm going to be able to buy my next meal, versus Bill Gates, who goes, well, this money problem is I don't know what charity to donate $1 billion to, kind of thing.
I know which one he does, but we're not going to get into that. We're not going to get into that.
It's like, what's going to be my return on this? That's the kind of money problems that you have at that level.
We can't talk about Bill Gates.
Just trying to trigger Tom.
Think of someone else. Elon, say Elon, please.
Elon Musk. Yeah, so
Elon's fine.
Right. His money problem is like, how much Bitcoin do I buy?
Yeah,
and his answer is apparently all of it.
Yeah, that's the way, mate. Yeah. Send us some in the post, Elon.
Yeah. So I think that was step number 6, train to win. So the actual, possibly arguably the money-making phase of the athletic career, or the especially competitive level of the career. And then after that, step number 7, which again, for everybody, active for life.
Yeah.
Follow the pathway, learn the movement skills, develop the strength, be active for life.
And that's like that, even not even looking at life as an athlete, it's looking at life as a functional human being who wants a good quality of life.
And I don't know if you saw, have you seen this morning that there was something released about the government potentially paying people to exercise? Did you see that?
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah. No, that was apparently the headline. So in terms of tackling the obesity pandemic, which it is, by the way, everybody.
There is one. There always has been, and it's getting worse. Walk around Tesco, and the sickness to wellness ratio is heading towards sickness and obesity.
Big time. I'd say probably 8 out of 10 on that.
Oh, mate. I think when I went in Tesco a couple of months ago, and this is the last time I counted, it was definitely like 75% obese, and that was children as well.
Yeah, I would even add, like, even if someone isn't obese, that's not the only marker for poor health. It is a marker, and it's a more visual one, but there are probably equally as many people walking around who, they might not be obese, but sure as hell you can bet they've probably got circulatory issues or some form of heart disease.
It's just and we don't mean to. We're not, like we said this last time, we're not picking on people who are obese, but it's undeniable that the health risks and the statistics are undeniable. What happens when you have a certain level of body fat is undeniable, and you will get sick early, and it will be bad. Like, there is no healthy overweight person. There isn't one. You can have some good health markers like good lung function and muscle mass and all that sort of stuff, but there will be negative ones as well. There will be negative ones as well that someone with less or a healthy amount of body fat won't have. And we don't mean to pick on these people. Like we've said before, we want nothing but to help anyone. But it's just, it always comes down to this as far as the population goes, and as far as like our real pandemic, our real problems.
I've got some numbers. I've been reading some journals.
Go on, lad.
There's so this was between 1981 and 2000. There was a meta-analysis done on that period, which revealed rapid performance declines in aerobic endurance in children and adolescents, so the ages of 6 to 19 in all developed countries. Muscular fitness in English children aged 10 to 11, grip strength was down 6%, sit-ups were down 27%, and I think a bent arm hang was down 26% as well. Every single one of the tests that they did, our children of the population, I'm in that bracket somewhere. The bastards didn't test me or measure me, but every single person was in a state of decline if you looked at the average across. And I don't know about you, but I do think that quite possibly the way that things are kind of panning out at the moment, there will be the divide between levels of athleticism will just get bigger and bigger and bigger as people who are interested in sport carry on and play it, and kind of sporting families kind of develop their own branch, and then the people who aren't very athletic, aren't very interested, will just continue to decline. It'd be really interesting, to see the human race in 100 years' time.
I think it's because the ones who aren't interested in sport still aren't being, I want to say, forced or encouraged to maintain a level of fitness or do anything. So it's like, this kid hates PE. He's got a note from his mum. He's not encouraged to exercise at home because his or her parents don't. Like, what didn't I like at school? Geography. What's essential? Let's just say your kid doesn't like maths, right? Don't like maths. You need to know a certain level. Otherwise, you won't get a job. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I need a C in maths because I want to be a scientist of some sort, a physicist. You need to know a certain level, don't you? You need a certain amount. And it's the same with life. You need a certain amount of fitness to have a quality life, a certain quality of life. Do you want to carry all your shopping in? Do you want to be able to run up the stairs without your heart exploding in your chest? Do you want to be able to pick your kids up when they run at you? Like, these are really basic things. I spoke to one of my friends the other day, and they said they did like a Zoom fitness class with the mates, just mates, not qualified, just having a mess about. And this lady said that her friends who were 30, they weren't overweight. A couple of them may have been a little bit, but they couldn't lunge. They couldn't squat, and they couldn't do a press up of any kind. On the knees, they had to do them on the wall. Now that, to me, shows like a severe deconditioning. To not be able to do a one body weight lunge.
I mean, that's, people go, whoa, why do I need to lunge? Right, okay. What happens when you're walking around and your foot clips the pavement or a bit of path that's slightly off and you trip? You're going to catch it, or are you going to be on your face? If you're on your face, eating dirt and concrete, coughing up blood and teeth.
Mate, it's fine when you're 20. If you're 30, 40, you might bounce off the pavement. But if you're 60, 70, that fall will kill you, because you fall, you break your hip, your femur, you're in hospital, you pick up something, a bug, MRSA, whatever it is, and that is it. Pneumonia, whatever, you're dead. And that's it. And it's because you're too weak. I've read a study. I don't know if I've talked about this before. I'll try and find it. There's a direct correlation between muscle mass in the lower body and length of life.
Yeah. I don't know whether we spoke about this before in terms of like the key markers for longevity and health. I think it was
leg mass, leg muscle mass.
Yeah. Leg strength. There was VO2 max. I think VO2 max is probably, I think that was number one. Grip strength is another one, because that correlates quite nicely with leg strength as well. So like, obviously if you fall over, your ability to catch yourself either in that lunge position that we're talking about,
or grabbing onto something.
Grab onto something, or just even putting your hands out in front of you into what we would refer to as a push-up position, and being able to not even stop yourself from hitting the floor, but just at least decelerate it a little bit.
Yeah. Stop you breaking yourself.
Yeah. Body composition, that was another one.
100%. And also, if you're not resistance training, if you're not strong, if you haven't got a history of it, you've probably got like weaker bones. You know, like that is definitely a thing. That's definitely an issue. They are strengthened, and the more dense from resistance training, from being under load.
Yep.
We always end up going here, don't we? We always end up going. We could talk about like the most powerful fucking kite flyer on the planet and how strong his wrists have to be, but we always go back to like the what really matters. And
just even how much back strength he needs to be able to pull that kite down towards him and resist.
What can the best kite flyer bent over row? 140 in one hand, just like boom.
Oh, right. So obviously we know that so they're the 7 phases. Active start, work on the fundamentals, keep them fun. So, and again, probably when kids are in school, I think this is an important factor as what you were talking about a moment ago. Like if a teacher doesn't enjoy a subject, like if a parent doesn't enjoy a subject, what chance does the kid have?
Yeah, does the parent carry that bias on to the child? They say that in songs, don't they? Fucking, I can't remember, but it's like you live your father's mistakes or some bullshit like that. You have your dad's biases. You know what I mean? You think of it the same way as you follow the football team that your dad followed, or you know whatever. You have these things passed on to you a little bit, don't you? And and it goes the same way, you know, for sports and other things in life.
Yeah, then you definitely have parental influences. And,
and I don't see lean parents with overweight children. No, but you might. Sorry, mate, it's strong as fuck, isn't it? But you know, you'll see overweight parents with children of the same shape.
Yeah, we certainly do pass on habits, behaviors, and thoughts, attitudes, beliefs. We certainly pass those on, like especially in the early phases of life where values are being formed and, you know, principles for living come into play. So, but I do think in terms of, I mean, teachers definitely, I think, obviously living with one, they definitely do need a helping hand. Like if they don't enjoy sport, it can't be expected of them to go and teach it and engage with the kids in the same way that people that love sport, people that coach and train and play for a living, because essentially that's what we do, don't we? We just play in a gym for a living. So my attitude towards coaching someone and helping someone get better at it is going to be completely different to someone that doesn't know what the hell they're doing, which is where I think, you know, primary schools, high schools as well, which I know they probably have more specialist teacher positions for that in high school, but certainly primary schools, bringing in external coaches to come and coach football, hockey.
Or just simply encouraging it. Like, you know, you wouldn't have your English teacher slagging off maths because it's not their subject. And it needs to be like, it needs to be pushed, doesn't it? It needs to be said to the child that it's important because it's not a learning subject. It's not something academic, but if they have a poor state of health, everything else that they do in life will suffer. Everything. And it can even be you could have everything on a CV that someone is looking for a job role. But if you walk in with a muffin top, sweating your back out because you've just had to walk 2 flights of stairs, overweight, I know it sounds snide and you could probably go and have a field day with HR, but you will be judged for being overweight. And it's snide. Yeah, it is, because this is the world we live in. But it's a factor. It's a factor in that. It's a factor in your longevity, your happiness in life, your relationships, your self-esteem, everything. The fizz should be pushed. I think, can't remember which president it was. I think it was JFK. He used to push it. The strength and conditioning PE curriculum in America during his presidency apparently was decent.
You will get hit in the face by 50 dodgeballs before you leave the gym, kind of thing. Like everyone's,
or you'll get out the way.
Yeah, I mean, I think like when I was in primary school, and this is part of a fundamental problem. Like we were essentially banned from playing so many games and so many sports in the playground. It was ridiculous, right? just to kind of frame this, I think I was in year 5 at the time, primary school. So what's that, like 10 or 11 years old? And me and my mates, we brought a tennis ball in and we were playing football in the playground with it early in the morning. And it was against the rules. Like, you weren't allowed balls in the playground like that. So that was problem number 1. But anyway, the year 6 teacher, whose classroom we were playing close to, came out. She was furious. I remember her name, Mrs. Gisborne. If you're listening, didn't like you, right? Not that she will be listening, but she came out, she told us all off, and we all got put in detention for lunchtime for playing football with a tennis ball, right? And I never told my parents, so they didn't know. They probably don't know to this day. And I wish I had told them, because looking back now, I know and I can see just how completely and utterly ridiculous that whole process was. It's just laughable, as being put in detention for playing football with a tennis ball. And it got so bad to the point where we had to wait for acorns to fall off trees so we could kick them around in the playground. And then whenever a dinner lady or a teacher came up to us,
which prison did you go to school, man?
Mate, telling you, it was crazy, absolutely crazy. They were like, "You're not playing football with that, are you?" And we're like, "No, just they're all over the floor. I'm just kicking it about," kind of thing. Like, and even then, we got to a point where we had to, I think, someone balled up a pair of socks, brought the socks into school, and we were using that to throw that across the playground, as in like through 2 goals that we'd set up for each other. And I mean, to be fair, that one actually got quite savage, because this ball of socks then turned into a ball of socks with a layer of tape, then another layer of tape, to the point where it became like a cricket ball, and we were launching that around the playground. But when the teacher went, "Well, what's that?" It's just like, "It's a pair of socks," which it was just like rock hard. But that's how, mate, that was my childhood. I'm amazed that I'm still interested in sport.
No wonder your nails.
It was insistence creates resistance. And this is the thing as well, right? Kids, go and break the rules. If someone says you're not allowed to play there, you're not allowed to play ball games, go and play a ball game.
Unless it's like, there's an electrical sort of fence or something.
Anything where you're going to come to harm. Train tracks, like electrical areas. Yeah, stay away from those.
Prisons, where Alex went to school.
Yeah. Literally, honestly, it was so bad. It was horrendous. I look back now and it's actually shameful. I wish I'd said something.
Yeah, me too. But, you'd have only got suspended, and there would have been another rule enforced as to stop you from playing sports in school. Mad.
That's the world we live in, though, isn't it? Mm. So, next question, Tom. In terms of developing and raising the ultimate athlete, or increasing the chances of someone having a professional career in sport or enjoying sport, what's the way to go? What sports should they be doing? What kind of sports should they be playing? What can we get kids involved in?
Well, like we said, it needs to be fun, it needs to be engaging. I think to start, it needs to be, all the way through, it needs to be what they like to do. If they like a sport and they have an attachment and a passion for it, attachment to it and a passion for it, then they should pursue it. But also with encouragement to try other things and not be solely pigeonholed into one thing. So it's not basketball forever and that's it. I've seen that children and adults can become burnt out with any one sport if they just do that, and everything about their lives is that. If they can develop other skills and build the confidence and self-esteem in other areas of, in other physical realms, then it just makes them a more well-rounded and motivated athlete in what they eventually ultimately finish the sporting career in and pursue.
Yeah, no, I think that's a very good way to look at it. So, because there are plenty of examples where people have gone on to have, pretty, let's say, professional careers, but they've burnt out and completely kind of disintegrated before our eyes. I think Jack Wilshere, I don't know whether he's a prime example, but he's one that comes to mind as someone that, was a world beater at 16, and then, he's kind of flitted out a little bit in terms of, I think he played at Bournemouth, West Ham, and no longer involved in the England setup through arguably what is generally considered as like the prime of most people's career, where you're looking at like age of 26, 27, 28. I mean, that's going to be a completely different mental task.
And he's probably good enough. He's good enough to play at a professional level, but because he's not living the professional lifestyle, or he's lost his motivation, he's lost his drive, he's not at that top level.
Or on the other end of it, obviously he's had a lot of injuries as well, hasn't he? So how much does overuse play a role?
Yeah. If he's not gone and developed his physique or his resilience because he's played too much of the same thing over and over again, the same tackle, the same header, the same kick, the same turn, like that can have a factor without having as much time off, like without having some time off and working on his upper body or his posterior chain. This is just a guess, like, whatever it might be, that can just lead to eventually snapping himself. And
I think that's probably one issue with football clubs, isn't it? Like, I don't know whether it's still the same, but certainly when I was growing up, it was like, oh, so and so, he plays for Man United. He's not allowed to do this. He's not allowed to do that. Like, literally the only thing. Yeah, like the only thing that you can do is go and play football. And I think that was for like kids from really young ages as well. And it's so, well, maybe really, really good at football, but think about how much you're actually missing out on, like how much other sports actually contribute in terms of forming those all-round movement patterns and movement qualities and injury proofing you. Yeah.
I think also like it takes away, or it can take away, the value of the sport that you really do love. Like if that's all you do, imagine if you really like steak, but that's all you ever eat. You don't eat anything else, then you're never going to wish you were having steak again. Like you're not missing it. You're not desperate to get your boots back on, having an off season where you're just throwing a ball and lifting some weights, going for some running, you know what I mean? Learning how to jump. There's a million things you could say, but time away.
Yeah.
And missing it.
Once you've been paid to do it at the top level, and we generally refer to having a really wide base, don't we? To start with, that you can then go and build on top of that. Like the wider the base, the taller the pyramid, and you develop that really wide base by playing various sports, various games, which will maximize your potential to go and have like a top level career. So we did put together like a mini list or a select series of categories. So parents, if you're listening, get your notepad and pen out. We've got some sports for you to go and push your kids into and force them to play. And definitely don't give them any other option. No, again, come back to you don't force your kid to do anything, do you? Like, it's just encourage. Like, if you enjoy it, it's like, good. Have fun doing it. Unless it's vegetables, cram them down the throat. No, but I think ultimately you want to make the entire thing a pleasant experience for them, don't you?
Yeah, it shouldn't be torture. It shouldn't be like, coerce. I mean, yeah, you can coerce them a little bit. Just if they're wimping out a little bit, just be like, give it a go, and if you don't like it, we'll go home.
Yeah. So the art of persuasion. If you have to resort to brute force,
you've lost.
Yeah, that's the least intellectual way in which you could go about doing anything. So, number 1 for your list, get them involved in some form of swimming or track and field or individual-based athletic activity.
Yeah, I think swimming's important anyway for stress-free holidays when they're in the pool. Just so you know that they can swim.
I didn't even consider that. That's because I'm not a bloody parent, am I? That's a dad talking, that is.
That's a dad, that one. Just to make sure that they can swim the pool and they're not in as much danger. Obviously, you always keep the eye on them, but like just so you know that they're confident in the water and you're confident in their abilities to look after themselves. So that's super important anyway, number 1. But I'd absolutely agree, like something that makes them do something on their own, in their own mind, like a single solo running event, swimming, CrossFit's very individual. yeah, you're on your Todd. You're on your own.
Great chance to work on energy systems as well, isn't it? And learn basic movement patterns. Like if you think running, jumping, swimming.
I've seen kids who can't run, mate.
I think that's really sad because it can be really, really fun, especially sprinting.
Yeah.
Great fun. And by the way, in terms of plyometric training, core function, speed, muscular strength.
Mate, think of how many sports involve sprinting as fast as you can whilst doing something else. I mean, you've even got like throwing sports like the javelin. You have to sprint.
Yeah.
You have to run. Do you know what I mean? There's so much. There's so many things.
And by the way, how much more primal can you get than running with a spear and then launching it?
Mate, the zombie apocalypse is coming. If you can't sprint, you're zombie food.
That's why I'm getting a dog. I'm sorting out my own little I Am Legend kind of hideaway. Yeah. Get my pooch, line the driveway with bright lights and petrol and other devices.
If you
preparing for it,
bayonets and machetes.
Anyway, then number one, and it's some form of individual sport where they can compete, they can race against other kids, they can look to improve in their own times, naturally through the phases of growth, development, getting bigger, taller, stronger, more efficient in the movement pattern, better energy systems. The kid is going to see an improvement in times, and if you want to see progress and keep people interested, or keep your child interested, progress is a really, really great way to do that. And that will naturally occur in things like swimming and athletics. Yeah. So as well as key life skills, run away from someone, chase after someone, hunt someone down. Like me, I had to chase after my dessert a few months back. Shit like that.
Yeah. Yeah, mate.
You got to think about these essential life skills. And then of course, drown prevention. Drown proofing.
Or saving another kid from drowning.
All that. So that's number one. Number two, we're going team sports. Team sports for number two.
Social cohesion. Working with others. Fairness. Kindness. Encouragement. And being a good example. So these are like, they've barely even gone onto the physical yet. These are more like characteristics of somebody's mind and personality that we want to employ and grow in.
So I'm so glad that I'm doing this with you, because I didn't even, I was just completely neglecting the social skill side of things. I'm not a very social person, to be honest. I'm more like, when we're playing a sport or a game, I'm just interested, like, what can we do to win? That's all I'm thinking about. I don't think about the social side of it. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can be the best player. You can have the biggest engine. You can have the best shot on a team. You can be the most reliable player. But if you're the one who keeps everyone's heads up when you're losing, the one who keeps everybody talking when you're struggling or you've got a problem to solve, Ryan Giggs is running rings around you. You're going to be needed, aren't you? You're going to be a resource. You're going to be a pillar of your team. So I think those are really important things to develop in an athlete.
Yeah, it gives you a sense of tribe as well, doesn't it? Like, there's nothing quite like running over to your mate after they've just been snapped and then sticking one on the guy that's done it, is there? Like,
oh, mate.
Do you know what I mean?
He'll love you forever. He'll love you forever, mate. He's got your back.
Love your teammates. Love your team.
I mean, as a football, so I've played team sports, played rugby, played football, and I was always centre back, and like a consistent player. Never man of the match, but always like 8 out of 10, like consistent. But I was captain, so like these are the things that I concentrated on, like a bit more, and they were important. Not saying I was fucking great at football or anything. Played for like a Sunday league team, but they were important things to me anyway. In a team setting.
I think that's another skill as well, isn't it? I didn't think about this, but responsibility. Like, if you're in a team sport, you have a certain position to play. And in that position, you have a specific role to do. And then if you can develop an appreciation of, if I do my job well, I increase the chance of him doing his job well. And I increase the chances of the team winning.
It's teammate. You're not gonna you can't rely on your centre forward to win every game, even though they will score the goal, or ideally they will. That's the goal, isn't it? That they'll score for you. They're the most likely to. You need your midfielders working hard. You need your defenders working hard. Like, you have to work as a team. But if you don't have the mental capacity and compassion and foresight to work with players and work with people, and these things carry over to individual sports as well. They all carry over. If you can't do that, then you're not going to be a great player, and you're not going to be a great teammate, and people will not like you as well. You'd be like, he's a cracking player, but can't work with him because he hates him, and he hates him. And the manager fucking hates him as well.
Well, and then you apply those skills there. Like, let's say, you play a couple of team sports, you don't have a career in professional sport, but you are going to be part of a team somewhere at some point in your life, whether it's business, work related, or, even if you wanted to nail this down to you in your household with your family, you are a team.
Yeah, 100%, mate.
Everyone's got jobs, everyone's got responsibilities. Can you manage it? Can you lead the team? Can you help the team?
Yeah.
You're all on the same team. So, and then obviously game sports like that. I mean, what would you say? Football, basketball.
Yeah, rugby. I think there's getting something of a thing that playing a physical contact sport is very important.
Well, we're going to keep that in a separate bracket of its own. So we'll go non-contact team sports.
Yeah.
Where it's like
skill, where you, like you said, the brute force is the last resort. Like, but in a skilled sport, so learning the skill, learning to appreciate the game you play in, your 3-pointer in a basketball, you serve in tennis, and figuring out how to get good at something.
Yeah. And certainly in those field sports, you're going to learn more, or you're going to pick up more skills around agility, coordination, positional play, sense of tactics. You're going to understand interaction.
There's more going on, isn't there? There's more going on. There's more variables. If there's 20 players, 22 players on a pitch, there's a lot more going on. And if it's 1 versus 1, or you on your own doing something. Yeah.
A lot of the time it's, how to create space, how to restrict it, how to essentially kind of suffocate opponents. So there's your second one. So team sport. Number 3, we've gone for racket sport, or some form of kind of bat and ball type sport.
Yeah.
For, hand-eye coordination, tracking objects, being able to throw, catch.
That reflex reaction, isn't it? Yeah. And being ready. Like, it's like that. It's one of the quicker things, isn't it? Playing badminton or tennis or squash. They are quite demanding, and essentially that's what you are doing, reacting. Or almost like a Jedi mind sort of foresight, seeing what's coming from somebody's. You're reacting to somebody's body language and the shot they're about to play, instead of the one that happens after they've hit the ball, if that makes sense. If their body's shaped a certain way, you know which way it's going to go. And that's obviously like a very, very high level of skill at that point.
Well, I say, so if you think about how fast the cricket ball gets delivered and the reaction time that you've got there, like, you don't have time to think. So is it pure instinctive reaction, or are there specific cues that, like you've said there, you're picking up on body language, positioning?
Yeah.
And
I think you've just seen it 1,000 times. I think you've just seen it, like if like, say, for example, what could we use? The example in tennis, if someone steps the foot forward at a certain angle and they're bringing over for a forehand, you know which direction it's going to go. Yep. Or, in MMA, if there's a lot of tells with kicks or punches, if there's a lot of so if someone turns the front foot close in front of him, they might be looking to do a spinning technique. There's that sort of stuff that you can see, but it just comes through repetition and experience.
Picking up on those subtle cues. I think Matthew Syed in his book Bounce, he's got a great example of that, because I think he used to be a table tennis player, didn't he? And I think they tested his reaction times, and he got really, really good reaction times, Like, and I think when he put it to the equivalent of facing a tennis serve at 140 miles an hour, you know, in theory, he should be able to pick up on it and return it. And I think he actually did this, and he writes about this in his book, where he faced some serves from a professional player and he couldn't get anywhere near it. Like, literally just couldn't get anywhere near it. Even though he technically got the reaction time, he wasn't able to pick up on the cues, the body language, to gauge where the ball was going and how it was going to travel. So racket sports, bat and ball sports, things like that, really, really good ways to improve those skills, hand-eye coordination, and you know, body control whilst looking at another object that's also traveling at speed.
Yeah. Where do you put your body? Like, that's probably the issue that man had, the table tennis player. It's like, where do I put my body and how to return this absolute rocket? You know, like if I'm just stood there like that, do you know what I mean? Then you're fucked, aren't you, really? Like, you need to be ready to return.
I mean, I think these are things that, you know, when you consider about how powerful the brain actually is, because you program into a robot to track an object and catch a ball, and how often does it just shell it and just completely can it or not make it? Like, have you seen the robot goalkeepers? They're facing penalties, and like the ball will be kicked, and then all of a sudden this robot goalkeeper goes and just like falls over and just completely misses it. Like, you know, it's exceptional.
I'd rather robots stay that level of advancement, to be honest, because I don't want to live out fucking Skynet.
No, but like what I mean is, it's like it's
my Alexa's like, look at my Alexa, red lights just come on my Alexa over there. Fuck.
But it's a crazy example of like how much computational power we actually have in our brains, isn't it? So that's number 3, racket or bat and ball sport. Number 4, we went for combat/contact sport. So this is where we're going to be talking about your rugby, your fighting, your boxing, MMA.
Jiu-jitsu, wrestling. I think being able to play fight is an essential skill in life. Now, relationships and friendships, if you can play fight with someone and you're good at it, I'm not saying that you're going to beat up everybody. What I'm saying is you can play fight without hurting someone. Like, imagine if you were play fighting with your girlfriend over whatever reason, and you just went full force and spinning heel kicked her in the face, or like, you know, put her in a kimura and pulled the shoulder out. Like, that's not good, is it? Or equally, you could lose a friendship from choking someone out. Like, I think being able to physically feel someone's body and play fight with them is really important. Obviously, there's loads of benefits to learning jiu-jitsu, which can be self-esteem, confidence, body awareness, anatomy awareness. That transfer. I know lots of rugby teams who wrestle and do jiu-jitsu and grapple because it just carries over really well with where they can put their bodies and how they can move their opponents around. But it's definitely a really, really good skill. That grappling strength and endurance is a real skill that carries over to lots of other things and is essential in life. Yeah,
knowing how to exert yourself on another human. And knowing your limitations is like, I suppose, like picking up a drinks can. Like, if you just went with, if you've not done it before and you just went and you kind of just crushed it, it's going to cause you problems. So you need to know kind of the reactions that you're going to get when you exert certain amounts of force on other people. Like, if you were going to pick up a child, for example, like if you're going to pick up your 2-year-old, you're not going to do the same way that you deadlift 200 kilos, are you?
No, like, you send them through the roof.
Yeah, you know how much force that requires. Plus, it's always nice to know that you could, you know, beat someone up if you had to.
Well, honestly, I know that you're joking a little bit, but it is like confidence to know that you can talk your way out of a situation because you've got the physicality and foresight to back it up, to be able to like, well, I could keep him away from me if I had to, or I could just put him on his bum by taking him down and then walk away. Again, like if someone picks you up and puts you down on the floor like a child, you're not going to carry on trying to fight him because you've just been completely dad moded. Like, your dad's pick you up and put you down. It's over.
Yeah, and we also know it's a last resort as well, isn't it? Like that brute strength application. If you have to resort to it, that should be the end of it. Like, there isn't any more to be said after Last one on the list, weightlifting. So we're talking either competitive weightlifting, powerlifting, some form of resistance training based sport. You could put CrossFit in that category as well.
Yeah, I'd say that weightlifting's great because it teaches you how to move your body around an object. And I'd say that this comes in with gymnastics as well. So body weight awareness, I think it would be very important. Being able to move your own body weight with your legs, your arms, push-ups, pull-ups, squats, rope climbs, cartwheels, handstands, pistols, all those sorts of things carry over to absolutely everything. If my child could do one sport, I'd have them do gymnastics. But weightlifting as well is really, 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 it'd be a really, really good tool for coordination, timing, confidence, and also
athletics.
Getting a bit bigger and stronger. Yeah, absolutely. Super important. And if you can get your child exposed to that, build the confidence up and the self-esteem. Like Alexander loves snatching, loves it. He's pretty good. He's naturally pretty good. Taught him how to do it with a PVC pipe, and now he's snatching like 10 kilos for reps and stuff, and overhead squatting, and he loves it.
Good man. I mean, it's just a great opportunity to put that strength training component into your athletic development or into your personal development. Like, we take for granted, we obviously know that strength training is important for sport and creating force, being able to sprint, run, change direction. But even, when we came to step number 7, active for life, if you've got a really good foundation of strength from early childhood, there is no age at which it is wrong to begin to learn how to squat. Like, if don't get me wrong, like if you're a 2-year-old, we're not going to load up a barbell and whack it on your back. But can you initiate that movement pattern? Yeah, like you naturally do it anyway as a 2-year-old. So being able to develop and maintain that strength through into later life, so you can still get out of a chair at the age of 70, 80, 90, maybe even 100 plus if you're fortunate enough to get there, or if we're all still around by that point in time. It could be all over by then. Could be well over and done with.
It's going to be over by then.
I mean, imagine what if we had to quarantine in space. Like Elon Musk wants to take the human race extraterrestrial and leave the
planet. We're going to watch our own funerals as AI robots.
Just a brain in a jar.
Fuck me.
We nearly made it. The full podcast.
Mate, Bill Gates can swivel. Let's not talk about him ever again.
No.
Psychopath.
So there's our list. That is our top 5 kind of categories. So if you do have a child, or you're planning on having one, even if you already have one and they're past those phases, it's still not too late. You can still go out and get benefits from doing all those kind of sports. And
I think it's just important to remember that every child is different. Every kid is different. They are not you. They are themselves and whatever they want to be. So as much as you can push and influence, I think it's important to remember that you'll get the most out of them if you get them to do what they want to do, or help them figure out what that is.
Strangely enough, remarkably just like coaching, that, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
It's a weird philosophy to have in life, isn't it? You don't force people to do things. You coach and encourage.
No, mate, it. You get the most results from clients who come to you ready to work, and not the ones who you have to get out of bed in the morning. Can't work with those people, or you can't get the best results with those people, unfortunately.
Yep, absolutely. You have to have the will to do it in the first place. And that's where the magic happens. We just help you along.
100%, mate.
So we'll go through that list again. Number 1, swimming and athletics. Number 2, some sort of team sport. Number 3, racket or bat and ball sport. Number 4, combat/contact. And we're talking like physically hard stuff like football. We can't put into a contact sport anymore. Not after I've been watching Anthony Martial roll around on the floor after a little tap. So we're talking things like rugby, MMA, jiu-jitsu, boxing, American football, obviously, unless you're just a kicker, like me, and in which case doesn't means you're not a person. Then number 5, weightlifting / gymnastics / CrossFit, some form of resistance training based sport where you are going to be learning how to lift, how to train, and training specifically to get stronger and improve movement patterns and coordination. So that is our 5. So whilst they're young, go and get them involved in some of those things, even if you're a bit older, even if we're past that, if you're at the point where me and Tom are, or beyond, that's not the end of it. You can still go and have fun and do those things. Go and play golf, take that up when we're allowed.
You can reinvigorate your brain and your body by going and learning something new as well.
Just go and feel different. Go and feel something different. Move your body.
Go and be shit at something. Go and be absolutely level 1.
Proper noob. So those are our top 5. Are you happy with those 5, Tom?
Love it.
For sport. So
love it, mate.
Go do those.
Learn from all of our mistakes over time.
Yes, that is it. So there's no excuse for your kids, is there?
Nope.
Thea's future has just been mapped out in front of her right there and then. So thanks for coming on again, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure,
mate. I'll come on anytime.
Definitely. We'll have to get you back on soon, along with Michael Madden, to discuss the reopening of gyms.
Oh yeah.
Still over a month away, if it does happen at that point in time. But we're getting close.
Everything crossed, mate.
We're getting closer.
Unless the Eccles variant comes out.
Which it will. It will. Anyway, thanks for coming on, mate. Really appreciate it. And,
my pleasure, Alex. Thank you.
So that concludes episode number 29 with Tom. We're talking about building the ultimate athlete. So again, don't go and force your kids to do anything. Don't force it. Just encourage it. Present the opportunity. Let them work it out for themselves, and ultimately keep it fun, enjoyable, engaging, and get involved yourself. That's a great way to work on your production capability and pay in and invest in the emotional bank account of your kids. That there isn't a better way to do it than engaging in something that they love, even if you don't like it. Go and do it. I'm sure you actually enjoy being with your kid and spending time with them and seeing them do what they enjoy. So there you go. That's the way to do it. So hopefully this has been an enjoyable episode for you, giving you a bit of food for thought. Maybe even made you consider a couple of things in your own life, maybe a couple of things that you want to go out and try, a couple of hobbies that you want to go and get involved in. It is never too late. Never too late. There are so many opportunities out there right now. Obviously, during COVID, a little bit tricky in terms of social distancing and being locked in and being able to access sporting venues, etc. But when everything does open up again, certainly pounce on that opportunity and do not pass it up. Anyway, if you have any questions or there is anything you would like to discuss or ask me or Tom off the back of this podcast episode, just drop me a message, email me, whichever format you like. You could comment on the YouTube video, you could comment on the Facebook post, you could message me directly. Hop to it, crack on with it, and I'll make sure I address your questions either to you there and then, or possibly use it as podcast material for later on down the line. Which reminds me as well, please feel free to share this. Please feel free to give it a good review, good rating, and I will keep putting them out there. So until next time, that is it from me. Lenko out.